Welcome to the Evolution Magazine Live Series. It is Thursday, April 29th, 2021. We are broadcasting live from Happy Rock Farms in Kansas City, Missouri. Tonight we have our host, Eric McSwain of the Missouri Cannabis Industry Association, speaking with Tyler Morgan about the return of the Missouri Hemp Trade Association. Our show will get underway in just a few moments, but first, a word from our sponsors. The Missouri Cannabis Industry Association has been our longest-running show sponsor, while providing quality education over many topics in partnership with area cannabis professionals. MCIA is dedicated to a free cannabis market to create supplies and prices that are patient-friendly, with initiatives to support adult-use cannabis, to protect home growers' rights, and expand the caregiving program. Go to mocia.org to learn about memberships, to learn about their certified caregiving program, and learn how to get involved. Thank you, MCIA, for being a show sponsor. Welcome to Coco Labs. The Coco Labs team is very excited and grateful to be a part of the emerging Missouri medical cannabis industry, providing the industry with high-quality concentrates, vapor products, RSO, and edibles. With a limited number of products rolling out this April, they will continue to build their product line throughout the year. Check them out online at cocolabsco.com to learn more about the products they offer. The Coco Labs team would like to thank everyone for this amazing opportunity to serve you. Kansas City Cannabis Company, redefining the approach to improving the quality of life of its community by investing in an extensive educational program for staff and patients alike. With a curated and thoroughly tested menu of premium products, Kansas City Cannabis Company is setting the bar for product knowledge and variety while offering a patient experience unmatched in the industry. With a wide range of discounts, incentives, and access to affordable medicine, guarantees Kansas City Cannabis Company will meet the needs of every patient and leave a lasting impression you won't soon forget. Tonight's video is provided by Cat King Films. Check this out. Cat King Films is offering promotional content, commercials, training videos, wedding videos, and documentary-style video production at an affordable price. A free consultation comes with every project to ensure that it is personalized to your brand. Check out previous projects by exploring the different sections on the newly launched website at catkingfilms.com.
Hello, Evolution friends, family, Missouri patients. Welcome again to another episode of the Evolution Live series. This is our last show here in April, and I'm so excited to have this guest on the show tonight, Tyler Morgan, who I adamantly referred to as the Hemp Professor, is on the show tonight. Back in the day, whenever Missouri Hemp Trade Association, pre-COVID, was having all their meetings, I got to see this guy speak many times, went to all their meetings, and this guy he knows it all. If there's a question you have, please ask this guy. Please try to stump him tonight. Ask him questions about anything growing, and I guarantee you he will be able to answer it. If he doesn't know it, I'm sure he'll know somebody who does. So before we pitch it over to Tyler and then also Eric McSwain, not Eric Smith from who I mentioned. I think I called him Eric Smith on the Kansas City Cannabis Company's live show. It was a long day. I never knew that interviewing people for 6 hours straight was going to be tough, but I probably should have figured that out. But anyway, before I pitch it over to those guys, thank you to our sponsors. Kansas City Cannabis Company, they had their grand opening on 420 at their Blue Springs location. Go out there, check them out. They have a beautiful facility there. Coco Labs, amazing group there, all 100%. Both those companies, all 100% locally owned. And they have some amazing products coming out that are on the shelves right now. Some shatter, some wax, some other things, and then the FICO is coming to the market in May sometime with that patient-focused program through Kansas City Cannabis Company. So thanks to them, and also MCIA, our longest-running show sponsor. Thank you so much for helping us put this content out there. And yeah, so before one more thing on our break, we have a couple of really great videos on the commercial break. The Canna Convict Project is going to be talking live with one of their Canna convicts from the jail cell there. Robert, what was it? Franklin. Robert Franklin is going to be talking with us via that video from his cell. Tune in for that on the commercial break. Also, George Hanna with the Kansas NORML. There's exciting things happening in Kansas right now. There's some bills that are looking pretty good. The legalization could happen within this year in Kansas. So we have George Hanna, the director of Kansas NORML, giving us a little update on that on the commercial break. So stick around for that. We also have some great prizes tonight. We have 2 free gift cards to Kansas City Cannabis Company, along with a bunch of swag as well. So tag a friend, bring them into this conversation. Each time you tag them, you get entered into that competition. We also have a goodie bag from Skytrace Farms here tonight. We're going to show you some of those products. They are ingenious with the way they make their products, and I'll let Tyler go into that here shortly. But we have a nice bag of giveaways from Skytrace Farms as well. So tons of giveaways tonight. Tag a friend, bring them into this conversation. And don't forget, this is an interactive show. Please ask questions. Please comment. Try to stump Tyler, because I've never been able to so far. So with that, let's pitch it over to Eric McSwain and Tyler Morgan. What's up, guys?
Hey, thank you, Clay, for bringing it in. Getting awful good at this, man. My name is Eric McSwain. I'm with the Missouri Cannabis Industry Association. Welcome back for another live episode, live from Happy Rock Farm Studios here. We're going to have a good time tonight. We're here with Tyler Morgan, Skytrace Farms. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing well, Eric.
Ready to play some Stump the Professor?
I'm already feeling stumped.
All right. Well,
I'm up for it, I guess.
That's right. It was a good pregame. It's fine.
I think the Hemp Professor, I'm definitely going to blame that nickname on Clay over here for sure. Forever.
Let's make it a thing, everybody. Let's make it a thing for sure.
Anyway, I'm just glad to be here. So thank you.
It's a good time. It's a good time. And, you know, I do want to say, I don't think we say it enough, but we're here because of you, the viewer, all of you out there. Shout out to all of you. Thanks for stopping by and taking a look, whether you're watching the live show here, which is always exciting. You never know what's going to happen, especially what's going to come out of my mouth. But or if you're watching the recorded version via YouTube, whatever the case may be, we sure appreciate you. Like and share, whatever you can do to promote the show. And don't forget about our sponsors. The more successful they are because of sponsoring the show, the more they're going to be willing to come back and sponsor again, and that just keeps the show going, right? That's what we want to do, because for me, it's about the education.
Absolutely.
And this is a good platform to get that sort of information out to folks, and we just want to keep doing it. So thank you again for tuning in. Now, Tyler, you came all the way in from St. Louis, right?
St. Louis, yeah. I drove in here this afternoon. So,
Okay,
yeah.
that's quite a trip. Appreciate you for
Not too bad.
making
It's
the
long
ride.
enough to have one coherent thought. It's good.
That's right. Well, better than me. There's too many potholes between here and there, literally and figuratively. Okay. Anyway, so now your journey with hemp goes back a little ways, right? I mean,
A little bit. This will be coming up on the 4th year of Skytrace from when we actually started. Formally, it's 3. And then I've been involved and just known people in the industry for a long time. Early on, with my brother, we were able to work with Belief when they first started back in 2014. And my role at that point was very small. I'd come and help Mike set stuff up, and it was just fun. So,
Right.
But yeah, so we've been around a little bit, seen some of the struggles for sure, but long enough to have met a lot of amazing people and to be able to know people in the industry. And I think now that we've had the first year of growing for hemp in Missouri, and also the launch of all of the different, you're seeing all of the commencements happening on the medical side and people moving forward, it's nice to see that happen in a way that a lot of people that I've known for a long time are starting to get some traction under their feet, and after putting many, many years of work into it. So, I mean, it's like any business. I mean, it doesn't go super fast. It takes a lot of time and a lot of work, but it's...
right. Reinvest.
Yeah,
Rethink, retool, do it again.
You definitely have to have some passion to get through it. Otherwise, it fades pretty quickly. I've seen a lot of that too. But
yeah, and it sounds like your company, Skytrace, does Skytrace bring it all the way from farm to retail or farm to manufacturing, and then?
Yeah, we've grown for the last 2 years in Illinois, and we have our manufacturing facilities are in Earth City in St. Louis.
Okay.
And there we do toll processing for farmers, and we also do white label manufacturing as well.
Okay.
But we're kind of selective about who we work with. We've got some great farms that we've been involved with for years now. And it's been really good to see lately that we've really all been able to come together and work together to get all of our product out to the market, instead of having individual farmers find themselves in a position, which is not uncommon, where they're trying to figure out, okay, now I grew this thing, what do I do with it? How do I monetize this?
Right.
And where's my customer? And so, but you get enough people in a room, there's enough talent there that everybody has a strength, and it's
Sure.
it's a lot easier to put that together.
Sure, and I bet you
So-
find that's pretty common, because I think hemp is more, at least in my community, more traditional agriculture, right? Your row crop farmers may turn to hemp before they go to, say, medical cannabis or adult use.
Yeah, and I've seen it from both sides, where someone who's very familiar with growing, medical, maybe in hydro, wants to look towards hemp, but that's their background. And then if they're going to go into a field, it's a very different world. And then growing this crop is not like growing row crops; it's a specialty crop. And so, so people that kind of have that acumen about themselves do well with it, and people that want to not get off the tractor tend to look at it and say, this is just way too damn much work for me. So, but yeah, it's a lot of work.
Certainly. And by the way, for any of you who might be interested out there, don't be afraid to pose those questions. I think we're going to get a lot more into that sort of farming aspect in the second half of the show. But now, at your manufacturing, you make all of these products that we see here, or?
Right. So, so some of these are pre-rolls that we have produced, and that is from our own flower that we've grown. So we started with the seed and grew it and produced a beautiful product, and then made some finished products. But we also do a cryoethanol extraction is the process that we use to produce distillates, and from those distillates we make tinctures, and we also work with our partner farms. And this is a really nice fruit chew that we just actually finished up and delivered, and this is now going to be available on the market.
Awesome. Now,
all across Missouri.
is that a chew, like these gummies you get that are all full of sugar, or?
No. We actually, I like to try and grow beyond organic, and I like to try and make sure that we're providing a healthy format to bring something that is supposed to be for your health to you. So I kind of on purpose chose not to put a bunch of sugar and corn syrup in it. In fact, other than honey, there are no artificial sweeteners or flavors. This is made with fresh strawberries, and we use a pectin base along with some seaweed extract and just natural flavor. So it's actually, it took a long time to formulate something that had that right texture, that tastes really good.
Right, and the tastes are often so mild with the natural extracts and without getting those artificial boosters in there. That's probably part of what weighed into the complication for you.
Yeah, and we're working with fresh fruit. I mean, I work with fresh flower. If we're going to make something, I want it to be good for you and taste good. I love to eat. I love to cook. I love to grow. Those things kind of all mixed up together. There you go. We've got this beautiful fruit. Yeah, and we did this for Medshine, was the brand, within our little Skytrace family of farms that we work with. And they're out of Jefferson City. And so these are going to be distributed across the state. And you'll see other unique products with the Skytrace label on it. And there's other farms that we've worked with. Cindy Lou Hemp Farms, they're down in southern Illinois, since we're on the St. Louis side. I know there's some Kansas-Missouri crossover on this side of the state, but there's a lot of Illinois-Missouri crossover in St. Louis. And then, of course, Grandpa's Family Farms down in Chamois.
Okay.
We've been able to work with them because once you've got this product grown, you then need to process your crop. And we have a processing facility. And so in the course of all that, kind of a couple big changes for Skytrace is that we're not going to actually grow this year.
No kidding.
No, we're actually going to be working directly with the farms that we're working with.
Okay.
To help them grow.
Makes sense.
And we're going to focus on what we think our highest and best use is, which is to help produce these products and help get their crops and everything to the market. And it really, these are relationships that have been built over years, and it's just nice to see the industry up and moving and to see them be able to kind of develop down that road. So,
yeah, and there's got to be some trust there. And don't forget, tag a friend. Everybody likes some good CBD, and there's some high quality products right here. Get your hands on some. But you've cultured those relationships now over years, so you've got to have trust that there's going to be product for you to process.
Sure.
Right? So you want them to be successful, but now it sounds like you're focusing sort of, finding your lane, finding your groove, and that's where you're going to go with it, right?
Yeah, and Skytrace will grow again, but I'm looking for ground. And thinking about moving and not just having this as part of what I do every single day, which is most of the day, but we're looking for a place where we can sink our roots in Missouri, and we'll find it. But in the meantime, there's so much work to be done to make sure that everyone's successful, and that really only happens when people are working together.
Sure. Yeah, and so part of what you're doing to help get folks together has to do with the Missouri Hemp Trade Association, right? Yeah,
the Missouri Hemp Trade Association, it's been really interesting because so many people have met through that organization and are now working together on this side of the state and also really across the entire state. The main function of the association was really to get together and work with the Department of Agriculture and help form the initial law that is now the law and guideline for the hemp program in the state of Missouri. And that was not too long ago adopted by the USDA as the formal program. So we have an approved program as a state. And then COVID hit, of course, right when everybody was getting started, back March last year, which is, and I think that really reduced the program a lot because a lot of people had to figure out how to survive. but a lot of people did grow and did a beautiful job in the last year. And I think so many people waited so long to be able to get their first crop up out of the ground. But now that it's happened, it's really great to see people come together and say, okay, now how do we get this crop to the market? How do we deliver a great product?
Right.
And even though we had to close down our public meetings that we were doing in Kansas City and in St. Louis every month, a lot of people stayed in touch with each other, and a lot of the folks that I've been able to work with are people that I've either met directly or indirectly through the association, and I know that goes true for people like the Poindexters with R&R Farms, and
sure.
And we've all been able to help each other out and make sure that we,
It's important
thrive
to be able to,
instead of survive.
You got to be able to phone a friend.
Yeah.
Got to be able to phone a
Absolutely,
friend. Yeah, that's right.
That's actually a nice part about this industry. I don't care if you're on the medical side or not, or on the hemp side. There's kind of a spirit of, okay, we need to be able to take care of each other,
right?
Which I appreciate very much.
Right, and that's really a culture that we want to nurture. It's always tough in the startup because everybody's forming and storming on their own teams, much less trying to get together with other folks. But I hope as we settle into an industry here in the state of Missouri, both on the hemp and medical side, that we can really find that groove and really start to get together and share and help each other. I think that's hugely important. Now, what's your role with the Hemp Trade Association?
I've served as chairman of the association since it started.
Okay.
And we've got some new leadership that's going to be coming in as well. And we're really looking at bringing in an executive director who will take over a lot of the daily roles. Most of the people I've asked have said, would you stay on? But I also, we all have companies to run now, now that there is a program. And so we're really looking at formalizing the association a little bit more and trying to get a little bit broader reach. And so on that end, in May, we'll be starting those meetings back up.
Okay.
And we'll do one the third Wednesday, which will be the 19th in St. Louis.
Okay,
and
good.
then on the fourth Wednesday of every month, we'll do one in Kansas City. So the 28th on Wednesday, we'll do one here. I think Michelle Poindexter is taking lead with another member of the board, and then help from quite a few other people. But yeah, so I'm just happy to announce that we get to go hang out and see each other again.
That's right.
And,
that's right. And now is this open?
So much has happened.
Is this open to the public? Do you have to be a member? I mean,
we've always tried to be inclusive and open to anybody that wants to come and check us out and be part of the organization. The door's open, but we ask that if you decide you want to come back, that you join.
Sure.
Because we are a member-driven organization, and it's supported by member fees. And to date, every single person who has made the organization the success that it is has been a volunteer. And
all volunteers.
But we're still putting on events and putting on these meetings, and and we're working together. We've got a committee put together, and we're targeting having a pretty reasonably decent conference in October. We'll release more details about that as it forms up, but right now we're just really focused on getting all these meetings started back up and going forward.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's awesome. Be sure to let me know. I'd be glad to let folks know that there's your conference is coming up and the details and where to go get the details. I'd love to do that for you.
Sure. And we've always had basically the meetings are pretty simple. It's a couple hours, and we usually have an educational component to it, and that gives our sponsors and manufacturers and other farmers and other members and everybody a chance to come in and kind of present on different topic areas, whether it's government or farming or insurance or whatever the need is, because it's a huge industry on the hemp side, and so there's a lot of topics there. And then the best part of it is the hour after that, where everybody just gets to go and meet and talk to everybody that they just met and hang out.
That's right. Make connections. Yep.
But yeah, so there's room there for sure to do it all again and keep it going.
That's awesome.
It's worth it. And there's some there's some good things that have happened in the hemp industry. the final rule just went into effect from the USDA March 22nd. And there were some changes there that happened because organizations like this from all across the country and individual people used their voice and told the USDA what they thought was right or wrong about things. And, you know, policies and laws can be formed, but they're not formed in stone. They're formed by people, and then we all have to live with them. So I think my biggest concern is that as a state that we keep our voice nationally and that we can contribute at that level, because in spite of some of the positive things that have happened, like, for example, if you grew something that was above 0.3%, it's considered, it needs to be destroyed. If it was above 0.5%, they literally use the word negligence, which is by legal art a pretty harsh term to use.
Bad news.
And it was automatically considered negligence, and you can lose your license and be subject to prosecution. Well, they moved that 0.5% to 1%, which within the genetics of the hemp world, that 1% range is at least within the variability of the plant to some degree.
Sure.
0.3 is not even within the detection limits of the manufacturer's specs on the equipment they're using to test the stuff with.
Right.
So they did change this in the final rule, whereas before it wasn't there. It was 0.5. So that gives us a little bit more room as farmers not to be sleeping with one eye open. And if it does test below that 1% threshold, then instead of being forced to destroy our crop, the USDA allowed different methods of remediation.
And that means pulling out the THC in this case?
Yeah, or creating a product that doesn't have something that is above that 0.3 threshold.
I got you.
So
you can still use the biomass.
Right, absolutely, which means you don't have to throw away your entire investment that you just put in trying to figure out how to get into this farm, because the industry's only been around for a handful of years, nationwide. So there's no seasoned experts anywhere at all.
Right.
Everybody's new.
Right.
And it's a lot of work. It's a lot of labor. It's a specialty crop. It takes a lot of care to do a good job.
Yep.
And you don't want to see people have to, lose it all. Yeah,
lose it all because the corn has too much sugar. I mean, what are you talking about? Just harvest the hemp and do your thing. Anyway, so, but in addition, is there anything, I know that's huge, so let's not downplay that for a second.
Sure.
For folks out there, that jump to 1% is almost mind-blowing. It opens the doors in a lot of ways.
Right.
Keeps you from having to destroy crops. Now you can salvage, a season's worth of growing.
Yeah, you still have to remediate it below that 0.3%,
sure.
Or it does get destroyed.
Right.
If it's over that 0.1, you're still considered negligent, which is a little bit difficult.
And that's what your lab can help with, right?
We can definitely do that. That's one of our goals, is to make sure that we can work with our farmers in a way that everybody can sleep at night and feels protected and knows that they've got a quality product that they can rely on.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
I guess the other, there's so many different things.
Do it.
You ask me a question, I'll just keep going.
Well, so I'm interested, while we're on the topic, we talked about the association. You want to be able to be impactful with the association, which is great.
Yeah.
We do the same thing with MCIA, help us out here, become members if you like what we're up to.
Yeah.
Do you guys have a website?
We do. It's mohemptrade.org.
Okay.
So it's mohemptrade.org.
Yep.
It needs some more updating for sure.
Right.
I think we have a volunteer who's ready to help us get there.
If you want to help with a website.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
we know where to send you, and that's important for us too. Become members if you just like what either of us or both of us are up to. We've both got low membership rates that can get you in the door. You don't even have to do anything. If you don't want to be a participatory member, if you just want to be sort of a silent member and just support us, those few extra bucks help. They help with shows like this.
There is a donate button on the website for
You
sure.
you can donate right in. I tell them, just become a member. We'll send you a newsletter. Yay! I mean, you can delete it. It's no big deal. Just in your email. So yeah, I do want to talk a little bit more about the policy realm.
Okay.
If there's anything additional there, but first, do you have a question from April Hatch, Cannabis Care Team? Love
Hi,
you
April.
guys. She wants to talk about our controversial Delta 8.
Okay.
What's up with Delta 8?
I think she was asking, like, if you had Delta 8 products potentially, and they can't hear me, so they can repeat that. I think
So do you have Delta 8 products? Is that something that you've been working
Only
with?
very recently we do have some Delta 8 products.
Okay.
There's some challenges with Delta 8 for sure. Delta 8 by law is an isomer of Delta 9. Okay. Or not by law, but Delta 8 is an isomer of Delta 9. By law, all extracts, isomers, salts, et cetera, that define what cannabis is are legal if they are from hemp. And so the actual definition of cannabis L sativa, as it's defined federally, was amended by the 2018 Hemp Farming Act, where they changed that definition to all of those things except for industrial hemp. So I think one of the challenges that comes up is that people don't understand it. And it's also something that a lot of people want right now. And so there's ways to produce Delta 8 from medical marijuana, and there's ways to produce Delta 8 from CBD. And so you've got to be a good actor. You've got to be able to do it the right way. And as we know, that isn't always the case in the industry. And so you've got to be, extremely conscientious about all of your supply chain, where it's coming from, who you're working with, looking at all of the COAs, making sure that you're delivering a product that's legal. And within the realm of the regulation. Even
Sure.
with medical marijuana, it's heavily regulated. Even
Sure.
with hemp is a heavily regulated industry, and so we all have our restrictions.
And that includes the
I hope
sourcing
that
of your
helps,
packaging,
April.
right? I mean, you've got to be careful about where you get your packaging from.
I think she was that whenever she asked that question, I think it was earlier on whenever you were showing the product. So she was curious, maybe what Delta 8 products you guys are putting out right now.
Just a few. We do have some pre-rolls and some fresh grind flour, and we're producing. This is the one that you saw up here was a blueberry pomegranate fruit chew. We've actually hesitated for a very long time, and I think one of the things that I look at when we're producing a product is I want it to be inclusive. I don't like to look at just Delta 8 as a thing. As a company, we don't generally produce isolates. I am more of a grow it in the ground organically, full spectrum kind of guy. I want to use the whole plant. And so we're doing, when we utilize our Delta 8, we're blending that with full spectrums, and we're including CBD and CBG. There are so many other cannabinoids. You've got CBN that starts to get developed, and all of these cannabinoids are basically coming from the breakdown of just another one. And that's what the isomerization is of Delta 9 to Delta 8. It's just how you arrive at that. You have to arrive there legally.
Right.
So.
Right. And by the way, I was wrong. She chimed in and said, "No, I need the dirt on the Delta 8." So you had it right.
I had it right.
That's right. All the skinny
All right.
on the Delta 8.
Well, I mean, I try to share everything I can because it's hard to find out a lot of times. What the details are.
Yep.
Most people don't know that the final rule just went in place for hemp with the USDA, but in that they suspended the requirement for DEA testing as far as labs until the end of 2022. And what that means for us as an association and as a state and as a country is that the next farm bill comes out in 2022. So they've suspended some of those rules that were part of the original rulemaking all the way to the next farm bill, which gives us an opportunity to use our voice and influence and try and form how that farm bill is going to happen. And I think that, we've really got, within the hemp world, hemp helps break that boundary of people's perception of the plant because it normalizes it.
Mm-hmm.
But that only happened because the medical marijuana industry broke into that far enough for it to be normal enough to allow the hemp industry to happen. So both industries have helped each other back and forth. We also need to look at just what the plant does. And I think that having a 1% threshold for the plant instead of a 0.3% threshold is part of what that voice should be, because there are very practical economic reasons to do that. One is it establishes an international standard of trade. I mean, that's the standard for other countries, is that 1%. And at least that falls within the natural variability of the genetics of the plant, to the point where you're not really saying, okay, well, if you want to grow GMO, then the law is going to be so strict that the only way you can get there, or if you want to grow hemp, the only way you can get there is to have a GMO plant that's CRISPRed.
Right.
The law shouldn't force it into non-existence. I mean, there are variabilities. Right. There's so much that you can do.
And that was sort of a problem for a
selection.
while with the 0.3, is that in order to get something that's going to meet that, you either have to harvest real early,
mm-hmm.
just to be sure that the dreaded THC isn't produced later.
Right.
Or you're probably limited to just a few genetics that have refined it to the point that THC doesn't appear much. Is that accurate, or?
It is partially accurate, and I say that because that's accurate in the context of talking about CBD flower and growing the plant for flower and growing for cannabinoids. But there's a huge other part to this industry, and there are plants that are hybrids that are combined fiber and grain, and then just fiber plants. And so Cannabis sativa has a broad range of phenotypes and a broad range of uses, and it's been used in industry here in Missouri for the entire time that it's been illegal to grow it. So we have some of one of the things that, and I bring this up because it's important to talk about the whole industry instead of just one specific segment of it, because they all support each other.
That's right.
And every time Boeing has a plane order, there's X thousand tons of hemp that have to be processed to produce the resins to produce the skins for the plane, and the lightweight fibers that go inside of it. And we've got organizations here between car manufacturers and everything else that use a huge amount of hemp product every single day, and have for as long as I've been here, for as many decades.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had some successful conversations with some senators and some representatives that we should really have an initiative for our state that focuses on bringing those companies in and having them support organizations like the Missouri Hemp Trade Association, and have an industry initiative instead of a regulated initiative that encourages, commit some small percentage of that use to local production.
Yep.
So that we can start having farmers that go out and know that their crop is sold before they put it in the ground, or can have those contracts out there. But
sure.
This is our first year. I don't expect it all to happen in one growing season, 120 days.
Right now.
But I think those are some of the things going forward that, and as this industry broadens and deepens, it'll start making all of these things more real to people, and the plant itself less demonized.
Yep.
So.
Yep, that's a huge part of it. We've talked about it on the show a few times. Xavier, I do want to holler at you. You asked about hydroponic nutrients. You don't grow hydroponically.
No,
I don't grow hydroponically. Mr. Dalton, what's your recommendation for hydroponic nutrients?
Right now, I'm enjoying the Newts brand.
Newts brand?
Newts brand. We sell that here at Happy Rock.
That's right.
Yeah,
I
just started using it. I've run it for about 4 months. I think I'm going to keep using it, and it's pretty inexpensive.
I like it. I
Nice.
like it. Economy Solution does well. Xavier, I hope that helps. Sorry we couldn't provide more insight on that. Another question though is hempcrete or hemp plastic something? Hempcrete rather, or hemp plastic something that is or should be happening here in Missouri?
Yeah, it can. Hemp plastics certainly are. Hempcrete. My first experience using hempcrete was in 2005 and 2006, and at the time we were working with a number of different builders and putting up zero energy homes, right? And so we actually worked with Midwest Block and Brick, and they produced hempcrete
Okay.
blocks at the time that were used for the landscaping.
And is that just using the hemp fiber in?
Yeah, it's
concrete?
combinations of hemp fiber. You can also add biochar and other things in there
Okay.
to make it lightweight, along with different, there's a lot of different combinations,
Okay.
but it's a way to utilize it. The hemp plastics, well, if anybody has or hemp paper would be huge, and it actually is. So all of the little transparent, super fine type papers, like even cigarette rolling papers, that's hemp fiber. Because you can pound it down to the texture of silk and get something. Right,
Now,
right.
Now,
Or let us know where we are, so we can preserve the plants that have selected themselves to
That's
our
right.
own environment
Well,
and
they-
protect those genetics.
I agree.
Let's not let
I
the,
agree.
let's not let
Don't
the,
destroy it. I've got a
don't go
collection.
burn it.
I've got a collection.
So-
But also to that effect, I visit with the farmers that as best I can, even if it's a cold knock, like I'm running for office.
Yeah,
I don't do it during October. On the run up to an election or anything. But
Right.
I get to know them and just ask them if they are planning to grow hemp, if they know anybody in the area who is, because I will literally go help a neighbor hunt for males. So
Right.
that, he doesn't want his crop pollinated unless he's growing for seed.
Right.
And I don't want my medicine pollinated. So I'm out there like, please let me help you. Like, I know what a male looks like. I'll come out. We're going to start second week of July and really start hunting. But
It's been a challenge for other states that are a little bit further down the road than us too, because people are growing for grain, and when you grow for grain,
different
you've got to
beast.
be aware of like how that works regionally, and in smaller communities, establishing what those regions are a little bit easier sometimes than when you get into more metropolitan type areas, because there's just so much crossover.
Sure.
And other there's other huge concerns growing outdoors, like overspray or drift from dicamba. I know that kept a lot of people that were very serious about growing a lot of acreage down in the boot heel from doing anything with it this year.
It's a big
So,
deal. It's a
it
big
is
deal.
huge.
And by the way, no shade against my grain farmers. If you're going to farm for hemp seed, bring that on. Just do it responsibly. Talk to your neighbors about it.
Yep.
I think hemp seed's the number 2 most complete food on the planet, all by itself.
I eat it every day. It's part of my daily diet, and I use it in ingredients. I
Yep.
toast it and throw it on salads. And
And what do you call it at that point? Is it like a nutraceutical?
tasty? I don't know.
Just tasty.
It tastes good.
Come on. I was trying to get the professor fired up over here.
Well, it's super high in omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids, and
All the good
great
stuff.
source of protein. Basically, it's like eating your salmon and your nuts, but you're just having, that instead. But so right now we're working on a peanut butter made from hemp seed. So I'll let you know how that turns out.
Okay.
Should be good.
That's less professor, more mad scientist, but I like it.
I'll take mad scientist over professor any day.
That's
So.
right. That's right. Okay, so I think we're going to go to break here. Be sure to tag a friend, okay? We got some good prizes over here. We got those gift certificates still to give away from KC Cannabis. Tyler Morgan, what is it, mohemptrade.org?
Yes, Missouri Hemp Trade Association, which
That's
is
right.
mohemptrade.org.
Yep, come out and see it, get involved, even if it's just to check it out, just a
and on our
great group of people.
We got a Facebook page too. We'll be posting notices, and I really want to actually just take a second to say thank you to Clay and Evolution Magazine, because they have been huge in supporting everything that we've done. Chris Smith has been at almost every single event that we've ever been part of
Chris who?
or involved in.
Chris who?
That guy over there. But really, we owe a lot of gratitude to both of these folks, because they've been there with us from day one, and none of us are successful without being able to get our voice out there. And I'm glad that I'm around people that try and help do that for each other.
Yes.
So
let's lift each other up.
Yeah.
Lift each other up.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Stick around second half now. Tyler and I are going to talk a little bit about farming, and it's the same whether we're with hemp or marijuana. It's all cannabis. So
I wish I had some of the other guys here with me now.
Oh, no.
So, yeah.
Clay,
All
what do we got for a halftime show?
I feel like Tyler maybe thought that he was going to be done with the show at that point, but we have a second half coming up, and he's going to stick around. And he drove all the way from the St. Louis area. Thank you so much, Tyler, for being here. We had a little bit of some technical issues, which is rare here at Happy Rock Farms because they have Google Fiber and we're directly plugged in. But James, Level Up AV, switched it over to his phone, got it cooking again, and we're back live without a drop of the signal there. So just a shout out to we're not running as solid as like normal without Google Fiber, but I'm amazed to have a guy on with us helping us out that can figure out these issues and keep the show going and keep all the viewers still there. So thanks to Level Up AV and to Kat with Cat King Films. We have a little bit longer of a commercial break here because we have a direct phone call from one of Canada Convict's people that are helping out directly from the prison there. Robert is his first name. Remind me, Robert Franklin. Sorry, Robert. I keep forgetting your last name there. But Robert Franklin is going to be live here with Christina, talking on the phone, giving us updates on what's happening from within the prison there. That'll be on the second part of the commercial break. The first part, George Hanna with Kansas Normal. He's going to give us a little update on what's happening with Kansas legalization. From what I've heard, we are getting close. It could potentially happen this year. Not just potentially, but they're thinking that it's probably going to happen this year. So we'll check in with George. We'll check in with Christina and Robert. We'll come back here, talk more with Tyler Morgan and Eric McSwain. Tag a friend for the competition. Bring them into this conversation. We'll see you guys here on the other side of the commercial break. Peace.
My name is George Hanna. I'm the co-director of Kansas Normal, and I want to thank Evolution Magazine for allowing me the opportunity to reach out to you. We have had a whole lot going on in Kansas this year, finally, and we had House Bill 2148 that was introduced into committee and worked for 4 days before it was eventually substituted with Senate Bill 158 and passed out to the House floor favorably. The votes are there for passage on the House floor, but because of partisan politics and other issues, it was sent back to committee to preserve the integrity of this bill. We have the votes we believe in the Senate, which is eagerly awaiting this bill, and if we can just learn to trust our fellow humans, we can get this passed this year. I know the governor has already voiced her opinion that she will sign this into law. The opposition, however, has dubbed this bill as, quote, recreational light because of the anxiety and chronic pain in pre-qualifying conditions. And you and I both know that those are very large umbrellas that cover things like PTSD, anxiety, and other psychological issues. And then, of course, the chronic pain falls into orthopedic injuries, neurological injuries, and certainly cancer and many other medical issues that people often are forced to go into opioids to take care of this, and then that doesn't help the opioid problem. Because of all of the movement we've had in Kansas, our membership now is at an all-time pace. I'm reaching out to you to go to kansasnormal.com, donate, and volunteer your time because, again, like I said, we are not highly paid lobbyists, and we desperately could use your help. At this point, the one thing that I need more than anything, though, is for you to make sure that you are a registered voter. You get a hold of your senator and your representative and let them know where your vote stands. Nothing puts the fear into an elected official like the potential loss of fundraising and re-election. So if you could take the time to ensure that you are a voter, reach out and let them know where your constituency stands. At that point, I'm really excited where Kansas is going. Kansas Veterans for Medical Cannabis. Normal is also been privileged to partner with the Kansas Cannabis Coalition that involves all of the industry activists, nurses, and cultivators throughout Kansas, and we are excited that we are finally on the cusp of getting this done. So again, reach out to the fine folks at Evolution Magazine. They'll be happy to direct you to us, kansasnormal.com, and that is spelled NORML for National Organization for Reform of Marijuana Laws. And I look forward to talking to you again in the near future with the passage of Senate Bill 158.
An offender at the Moberly Correctional Center. This call is from a correctional facility and may be monitored and recorded. To accept this free call, press 1. To refuse, thank you for using Securus. You may start the conversation now.
Hello?
Hello?
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, good. How are ya?
I'm doing just fine. I'm doing just fine. Could be better, but I'm doing all right.
Well, it's good to hear your voice again. I've got us recording already. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you just fine.
Okay, I'm going to put you a little closer to the camera so that they can hear you better. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
Tell everybody I said hey. Hey, everybody. Can they hear me?
Yeah, you just said hey to everybody. So I'm going to do a little intro real quick. This is the Canna Convict Project here with our weekly update for the Evolution Grow series. We have on the phone with us today Robert Franklin from Moberly Correctional Center. So we spoke yesterday, Rob and I did, and we arranged a time for him to call today so that we could give a little update on his situation to everyone in the community this evening. As just a little bit of a reminder about Rob's situation, Rob is in custody on a nonviolent cannabis conviction where he was sentenced to 22 years without parole for 1 pound of cannabis, and he's already served roughly 12. So, Rob, is there anything else you want to add to that history that I neglected to include?
Nah, that's you said everything that's basically going on.
Okay, so I want to start today about that article that was released yesterday that the RFT Riverfront Times in St. Louis wrote about you. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your discussion with the journalist and what you guys talked about?
We talked about how I've been feeling, how I've been coping with it. We talked a little bit about the case itself. I just wanted to get out there that all this is over $450 worth of pot.
Yeah.
We talked about me possibly getting released. And my daughter, we talked about my daughter. I told him how it's affected her. She doesn't have any memories of me being free. She comes to see me every year, but it's always in a different penitentiary.
And you didn't get your yearly visit last year due to COVID, right?
COVID, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And how old was she when you got incarcerated, and how old is she now?
She was 3 when I got incarcerated. She's 14 now.
Mm-hmm.
Going on 15. She'll be 15 in a couple of months.
Yeah, she's a little glamour diva.
And they want to keep me locked up until she graduates high school. She wasn't even in kindergarten when I left, and now she's in high school. Now.
Yeah, and they had quite a few quotes of you in the article. They had a bunch of statistics in there talking about those who are still in custody under the statute, explaining that not all of them are cannabis. While talking to the journalist last Monday myself, he made us aware of one other individual, Michael Perry. I don't know if you've ever heard of him, but he's also serving for a cannabis conviction under that statute as well. So there's a good portion, not very many of them are cannabis. A lot of them are like coke and opioids and stuff like that.
Yes. He also told me that some people got clemency who were all methamphetamine dealers. That was kind of disheartening to me. Like, how did they go before me? I don't understand that.
Yeah, and right after the governor started sending out the clemencies and releasing people, I started looking into them. It's, obviously kind of time consuming, so I didn't get through all of them, but I didn't notice any of them that were for cannabis. And I think the article confirms that none of them were cannabis. They were all for much harder substances, which is really disappointing, especially when you had such a low level possession and you've spent this much time in custody. And you want to talk a little bit about the gentleman that you've seen come and go 5 different times?
Well, there's a man that I know personally. I knew him before all of this, but I've seen him come and leave 5 times, and each time he got parole. Each time he came back, he got parole. He only did like a year here, a year there, 2 years. And he got out again, and he's back again already. He wasn't even out 3 months, and he's back with another drug charge.
Do you know what the substance was?
Methamphetamines and crack cocaine.
Oh, that's so...
This call is from a correctional facility and may be monitored and recorded.
That's so discouraging. So there is a little bit of potentially positive news coming up in June. You want to talk about that?
Yes, the visit shall return. The visit shall return. Yeah, I can't wait for them. It's been, I don't know how long it's been. All these days run together for real, but I know it's been a long time before I had a visit, since I had my last visit. My mom was just down here. She couldn't even come and see me because of the COVID, the pandemic, or whatever.
Do you want to tell them what the standards are?
The standards for people to come see?
Yeah, for reopening.
Well, at first they said 70% of the institution had to be vaccinated. And I guess that wasn't working, so they changed it to whoever wants to go and get a visit has to have the shot. So I got my first shot, and I'm waiting on the second one.
The things you do to see people. Because I know you weren't really wanting to get one beforehand, were you?
No, I wasn't. I wasn't going to take it. I was trying kind of apprehensive about it, But they've been trying to get people to take it, and then they came up with that. So I guess a lot more people are taking it now. I'm not the only one that was holding out.
Well, unless there's a miracle that happens beforehand, which is something we really hope happens, which is release for you. If that doesn't happen and before June, I can't wait to finally get to use my visitor pass and come and see you. And like we talked about last time, I'm bringing some food and we're going to chow down and finally meet each other.
Yeah, that'll be a good day.
I just found out. Oh, go ahead.
I was just saying, put a face with the voice that I've been hearing.
Yeah.
So, sure.
I know. I just, guys, found out yesterday that Robert has never seen a picture of me. I thought because we were friends on Facebook, he had access to like my photos and my account. He clarified that for me yesterday that he can't view anyone that he's friends with on Facebook. He can't view our profiles, which was news to me. So his mom sent a picture of me when I was sending the letters of support to the governor and to his chief legal counsel. So that was his first glimpse of me. So we're very excited to actually get to see each other and give each other a giant hug.
Yes.
Which leads me to the letters of support. Everyone, this is Robert. Here's his picture right here, sitting right next to me, all blown up. This is who's on the phone right now. This is who we have the letters of support out in the community for, as well as Trevor Saller. So the only way this man is going to get any kind of early release is if he is given clemency from the governor. Otherwise, he has to serve 80% of his time on 22 years. It's out freaking outrageous. So please keep showing up to these events and signing these letters of support. Robert, do you want to tell everyone what that makes you feel like inside, knowing that these individuals are coming out in such, large numbers to show you this kind of love?
Well, it's a real humbling experience, and I know that God is real. And I take that to the heart, and I thank you for everybody who does sign one of those letters. I thank everyone for their support, and that keeps my hope alive, knowing that people are out there working for me to wrong this right this wrong that has been done to me.
Yeah, they're showing up in mass force. They think this is absolutely outrageous. And as soon as we start talking about your situation and they look at your picture, they're like, oh, it's because he's black. And it's like, yep, most likely. The disproportionate incarceration rates, the disproportionate sentencing. You, just like Trevor, under this statute, were considered prior and persistent, which means he was also considered prior and persistent. And not that what happened to him was fair, but he had 7.5 times the amount of what you had, and he got, what, almost 10 years less?
Yeah, I've seen, I've been to a penitentiary with murderers, rapers, robbers, some real bad people, and some of those people was getting released before me, and I couldn't understand that. I really didn't understand.
This call is from a correctional facility and may be monitored and recorded.
I know that I was in a small rural town that did this to me. Lexington, Missouri, Lafayette County.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if anybody knows about them, but yeah, it was just wrong. And I think me and my family was the only black people that was in the courtroom. And so I think that does have I know that did have an effect on it.
Well, our governor is balls deep in the cannabis industry here in Missouri, and we're just going to keep blowing him up and reminding him of his, duty as I see it. It's also a privilege that he is granted and is bestowed upon him, and he's the only one in the state that has this authority. So we're going to keep blowing him up. I see we're getting to about the 13-minute marker, so we're going to be getting cut off here real soon. Do you want to tell us your updates? Any new news that you have? Anything at all?
Well, I don't have any new news, but I do want to tell everybody thank you once again, and I appreciate everything that you guys are doing. I don't know how I can express my gratitude, but I really, it's overwhelming to me. I can't believe I'm in this situation. But
well, we're not going to stop till you're home, brother. We're not stopping.
I appreciate that. And when I come home, I'll be able to thank everyone in person. Especially you.
I can't wait to hug you. I can't even tell you. I mean, we've been talking for about a year now, right as COVID shut us down. And, we've just been dying to get, some FaceTime with each other. So, I mean, even just getting that FaceTime is going to mean everything. And then once you're released, oh my God. I can already feel the excitement.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming for such a petty.
You have 1 minute left.
Oh, there she is.
There she is. Our nemesis. Every time. Okay, well, I'm probably just going to do our sign off here. Guys, thank you for watching this update, and we hope you enjoy the rest of the show. Robert, you want to say one more final goodbye?
Goodbye, everybody, and thank you, everybody. Thank you for the support. Keep going. Keep the boots on the ground. And like I said, I thank you all, and I'm real. God bless all of you.
All right, we love you, man. Have a great rest of your day.
All right, you too.
All right.
Everybody enjoy the rest of the week. All right.
All right, bye, man.
The caller has hung.
How powerful is that? How many more of those do you guys want to see? I know that watching that to me just makes it the reality of the situation is put right there in your living room. So I would love to hear more of these calls directly from these Canada convict prisoners. If you guys do too, put something in the comments, tag somebody, bring them into this conversation. I think we should start a whole YouTube channel of these conversations. So we're actually just came up with that idea. I think it was Chris Smith is here with us tonight as well, and he mentioned that. So I think we'll potentially do that. Was that Eric or Chris? Somebody came up with the idea on our little smoke break.
Smith.
Yeah, it was Eric Smith. That's right. It was Eric Smith. False identities. But, hey, thanks for sticking around through that. That was amazing. We got updates from Kansas Normal. We got updates from Canada Convict Project. We're going to continue to do that. And hopefully you guys are supportive of all those things. And any comments or suggestions you guys have would be greatly appreciated, especially if you share it as well so we can get that message out to everyone else. We're going to continue this conversation with the Hemp Professor in the house. Tyler Morgan's here. Drove all the way from St. Louis, from Skytrace Farms, from the Missouri Hemp Trade Association. This guy knows all things plants and growing and lots of other cool stuff, too. He's blown my mind away about some I can't even say it. Fibonacci sequence. I know. Fibonacci. I know. I'm just a big dumb animal. I'm sorry.
I'm never gonna get it.
So obviously his lessons are sinking in really well. But he knows it all, and just being around him is so cool. And he coaches a lot of hemp farmers in the area. He's a big part of the industry, and we're happy to have him here on the show. So let's turn it back over to Tyler and Eric. What's up, guys?
What's up? What's up? I think, Clay, that's the first time I ever heard about the Fibby-Hooby sequence.
The Fibonacci sequence. Yeah. Don't get me started.
Oh, boy. Here we go. No, maybe I do.
No, you don't.
Okay. So we're going to talk a little grow here on the second half. Talk a little bit about hemp farming, farming in general, all those sorts of things. Now is the season, as far as I'm concerned. I'm going to bring it up every show. I love my home growers. I'm a home grower myself. It's generally on my mind. And, within the next couple weeks in my part of Missouri, that's pretty much the typical end. That's the last frost.
Yeah.
So it's on at this point. It's time to get the seeds in. If you haven't already, go ahead and do it. It's not too late. Now you have a background, Tyler, that goes quite a ways in terms of farming and gardening.
Well,
Is that a better?
I wouldn't say farmer. I'm a gardener.
Okay.
For sure. I've been building gardens and taking care of gardens for my adult life, and actually started, it comes from my childhood too. I mean, I come from a family where gardens were always a big part of our life, and so I've just always been the kid who was, outside with his hands in the dirt and covered in mud. So
That's right.
It's just kind of one of the things that I love the most. I always tell people that the most important things that I've learned to me, I've actually learned from just working with and knowing and growing plants my whole life. So,
Do you think it's fair to say that that a green thumb is, I mean, it doesn't have to come natural. It's something you can teach yourself.
Yeah, I mean, anything is something that can be taught. There's really, I mean, if it's out there, somebody else knew it. That means you can know it too. But it just takes time and patience and, you know, passion for what you're doing. And
plenty of mistakes. Don't forget about it. It's fine.
Musician, gardener, whatever the deal is, they're all quite amazing talents on their own. So, but yeah, I like growing stuff. For sure. Yeah.
If it grows, then you're into it.
I'm good with it. Yeah.
I like it. Now, what kind of gardening in the past? Like, you know, traditional vegetable gardening?
Well,
you know, or were you an arborist?
No, I was a design build gardener guy. So I would actually go out and be hired as the designer, as the installer, as the guy that actually built and created estate gardens, and then I would continue to take care of those gardens for decades after, and continue that on. So we've done lots of different waterfall type work, as well as just, you know, I don't know, it's just creating spaces, and understanding that space changes over time. It's sort of, for me, my background is actually really as an artist. I mean, my company was Artist Garden Stoneworks. So I was kind of partially self-trained, other half trained in the industry early on out of college as a stone carver. I've always been building gardens. The two of them came together, and I got some opportunities to work with some amazing people and build some amazing spaces, and still get to see those things thriving today. So
I love it. Yeah. I think I'm going to go ahead and lift that from you. You know, when you're gardening, you want to look at it in all four dimensions.
You do. You have to
height, width, depth of the roots, and time.
And time. Yeah.
And time.
Time is probably the most important part of it, for sure. Yeah.
I
the other dimension.
That's right. That's right. Well, that's a whole other show, I think, right there.
That's worse than the Fibonacci sequence.
Yeah.
So.
Rabbit hole.
Anyway.
And I think that's where my dad had failed for so long. I kid him like, he's actually a good chess player, but not everybody can think 3 moves ahead, man, you know. But it's that time thing, you know. So when he puts in an orchard, he only plants them 10 feet apart, and they're semi-dwarfs. They need more room, you know.
Right.
So 5 years later, ooh, boy, they're all into each other, and it's kind of a mess.
Yeah.
You know, even when he plants his outdoor medical garden, he's putting these plants like 4 feet apart because it looks plenty at the time,
right.
But by the time it's all said and done, that they're just smashing into each other now, cutting off airflow. I think that's important. Think about how it's going to look at the end of the season.
You have to, and you have to think about all the work. I mean, you know, this is our first successful season in Missouri. Some people have had more success than others. Some people have tried it out and said, "Nah, it's not for me." Other people have just jumped in and said, "Okay, I'm in love with this. I got to figure it out." So it's fun to interact with all these folks, and you know, from a farmer perspective, you know, I really look forward to being able to work with farmers because, you know, I didn't grow up on a farm. Farming is not part of my daily life. Growing has always been part of my life, but not on that scale. And it's sort of like, I equate it to, I carve stone, but I'm not the mason. You know, I make the stuff that the mason puts in place.
I dig it.
You know.
I dig it.
So that kind of interaction for me has been really great, working with the Poindexters and with everybody over at Grandpa's Family Farms and out at R&R Farms, and these different places where I'd love to be and walk the fields and see what it is to actually go out there and be able to do a true no-till regenerative agriculture approach, which is something that we've always taken on in all of the projects that we've done. And so it's, you know, it's definitely a personal passion of mine, to make sure that we leave the piece of ground underneath our feet better than we found it, and have that kind of stewardship to not just the earth beneath your feet, but the community around you as well.
Right.
So.
Right. Yeah, I love that. And that goes back to your comment about, you know, the ditchweed. It's not just ditchweed. It's 7 years, and cannabis is going to naturalize to wherever it's been growing, you know, especially if it's open pollinated.
That stuff is smart enough to know and has its own genetics where we haven't picked them for it.
Right.
How to survive here in Missouri. And that's what we need to be able to bring back into our own crops here for local and regional crops. I mean, I think one of the sad parts that you see in agriculture across the board is that everything is so specialty selected to the point where you end up losing diversity. And when you lose diversity, you lose health. I don't care if that's socially or agriculturally, politically. It all ends up not in a good place. And it just takes very small steps, and it does happen on a local level. And it's something where once you engage with it, you start to realize, yeah, it's the individual that actually does make the difference. And it's the small things that we do that keep the world a beautiful place to be. So.
Yep, I love it. And somebody out there should be collecting seeds from our old school traditional market growers who've been outdoors forever, because those things are naturalized, and they're going to come in early, and they're going to be mold free because they've just bred themselves. Those are the ones, it's natural selection, they're the ones that's successful here. Somebody should be collecting those and getting a group together.
Well, I know for a fact that now that everybody's going into their second season, they're seeing the seeds and realizing what I realized is that cannabis likes to come out of the ground on March 15th in Missouri.
Really does.
And it loves getting those first couple frosts. It just makes it like stronger and happier. And that's so counterintuitive to the way the plant is handled.
But when you do that, you almost have to start it outside, though, right?
You do. I mean, from then, if you're going to do that, that's really that's a choice of planting it the same way you would plant poppies in late February, so that the seeds are in the ground, they have a chance to harden off, winterize, and then actually be able to crack and adjust themselves to that soil temperature. And but it was a surprise to me the first time I saw it, and now it's happened year after year after year. And this year we just crossed that threshold of the 15th, and I had quite a few people. Folks over, Gentry Matthews called me up about his farm. He's like, I don't understand. It's coming up. It's going to snow. And so it's cool to see people engage with it
and they're hard.
Reintroduce it. And we're learning. It's an old crop that's been here forever.
Yep.
It was accidentally gone for 80 years, and it's coming back. So.
Yep. And gone. It's still here.
Yeah,
I'm telling you.
Yeah, but what's interesting is that we talk about we have to build an industry, and the truth is that there already is an industry. There's been an industry here in Missouri that's been using hemp for the entire 80 years. That it's been illegal for us to grow it and supply our own manufacturers with it. They just imported it from Norway or Canada.
Yep. Europe and Canada had it going on for the longest time.
Right. So the truth is that there is an industry, and it's a thriving industry, and it's nice to have an opportunity locally to be able to participate in that industry that's already there.
Yep.
So I'm excited to see what's going to happen over the next couple of years. So.
It is exciting, and I know it's a challenge on the hemp side to kind of stay abreast of, the trends. You got to make sure you can sell the product, and do I grow something for CBG or CBD or EIEIO? I mean,
Oh, and there's so many more selections that are starting to push CBC and go different directions on what those selections are in the plants. But I think that's also exciting because it just gives us a broader menu to work with.
Sure.
Certain things are going to work for some people better than others, and I think CBG, most of our customers that really enjoy it are over the age of 60, typically in their 70s and 80s, because it allows them to deal very directly with joint pain, just because of how CBG interacts with those receptors. It supports bone strength and relieves a lot of issues with arthritis, and doesn't leave behind some of the other issues that they may not want to deal with. Yep. So it's an individual thing. The plant is broad and diverse. I'd like to see it stay that way.
Let it do its work.
And if we interact with it in a way that we ask it to do things for us, we're going to end up with that same question. What do we plant? What's it going to do?
Yeah. Well, and I've had
listen to your customers.
I've had debates with genetics type folks, and specifically those who'd worked at least around the industry, but had formal training in genetics and botany, and they suggest pretty strongly that the genome, the cannabis genome is very plastic. It's got a lot of plasticity, so it can, it can find a way. Even though that we found bottlenecks, such as on the, the traditional market. For the longest time, people grew actually not to have as much of a smell, because that's a good way to get busted in a cul-de-sac, is for your house to be stinking.
Right.
So and so they bred out a lot of those smells over time. But now that it's become more mainstream and we've got medical programs, adult use programs, it's really from those same genetics they're starting to pull it back out, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah, and there's a different conversation medically about the plant now too that's more open. And so people are realizing the interactions between terpenes and cannabinoids, and so they have a huge effect. I know we've had a lot of people that have asked us to try and develop some different products for the pet industry, specifically for the show dog industry and the horse industry.
Okay.
But those are terpene dominant and not cannabinoid dominant, because the terpenes have a stronger effect. I mean, think about it. You're a dog, you've got
super sniffer,
and so there's like more nerve endings than the dog's. I mean, the dog's nose is smarter than my brain for sure.
Yep.
But that terpene profile has a huge effect on them.
Yep. And Dad will do you, I bet, for just a tiny bit.
So it's just interesting to see all the directions that it's going.
Sure.
Everybody's
and it's
learning.
It's
on
good
so
that
many
there's
fronts.
that opportunity as well.
Yeah.
But so anyway, back to growing. I don't mind getting frost on my plants either end of the year. As a matter of fact, I think it brings out those terps late in the year, if that's a possibility. But
you can always praying for that last magic freeze,
Yeah.
where it just happens between like
bring it on.
starts at about 3 a.m. and it's gone by 6.
Yeah, or
not too bad.
Or at least just a really cool harvest day. Overcast. I love that. I love that. Shona Sharinkmeyer, one of our favorite listeners, appreciate it, sends a question in. Outside for when you're farming hemp, how far apart do you want to get those plants? I mean, it's usually a row crop.
Oh
Right?
gosh, I've done so many different. I've looked at this so many different ways because one of the things is, people are often thinking about how much production can I get out of my field, and so they're trying to put as many plants into the field as possible, and counterproductive for 2 reasons. You shouldn't always be thinking about just the yield. You should be thinking about how much work you're going to have to do. So if you go on a wider spacing, let's say you go, 6 or 8 feet on center, and your rows are 5 feet wide or 6 feet wide. Well, what's your equipment that you have to maintain the field with? When they get bigger, can you still pull a 32-inch mower down the row? Or is it going to be in the way? Do you have to get in there by hand and go around every plant? Or are you going to make it so that you can just drive through the field, be done in a couple hours, and then allow your plants to thrive? They'll take care of the difference for you. But if you're setting yourself up to be in a battle with your field because you're trying to push more yield, then you might end up actually losing instead. Right. I think the biggest suggestion I can make is look at what your resources are, what your equipment is, and what your labor is, and choose your spacing based on that. I hope that helps.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, it's like a lot of things. It depends.
It does.
It depends. So for example, I know
which direction is the slope facing.
Right, that's huge. Is it in an open, airy spot, or is it down in a bottom where you don't get much airflow? You really need to encourage airflow. For indoor growing, I know some folks that the old-fashioned sea of green. You're going to pack, 20, 25 plants into a 4x4 space, and you're gonna grow them fairly short. And it's you're just talking about a bunch of buds. That's how you want to do it. You're going to keep the plants pretty short. Yeah. But you can get a similar yield if you just do one plant in that same space. It's going to take a lot longer. You're going to have to veg that puppy out and train it and do all kinds of fun stuff. But one plant can do the same thing. Also, genetics. Some plants are not fit for a sea of green. They're not fit to be small. They're going to want to get big. They're going to want to spread out. They're going to turn into the sticky tree by the end of the year. So get familiar with your genetics if you can. Also, if you bring out propagules or cuttings, okay, they may not they're not going to behave quite the same. Mine always go through a little holy crap period
Right.
before they get readjusted and start vegging again.
And when you're growing out in a field, if you're using, a proper weevil or a cutting, and you're going into the field with it, it's not going to have the same type of root system as if, a clone is not going to have the same type of ability to stand up in the field that something that you pop from seed and you're putting a nice little propagule on the ground. I had a hard time getting that sentence out. But when you're when you're planting out into a large open field, I tended to keep things closer together one direction than farther apart the other, just so I could go halfway between maintenance and then looking at, I wanted to grow a smaller plant. For two reasons. I wanted my harvest to be a little bit easier.
Yep.
And we're not trying to push our plants for size. So we're not feeding them and trying to drive growth on the plant. We're pushing our plants for flavor. So we're trying to encourage the ground and let the plant take care of itself and be able to have that conversation with the microbes in the soil with its roots, instead of me telling the plant what to do all the time. And we've had some good success with that in terms of being able to help develop terpene profiles that are very unique and kind of wonderful. But I tell you, all the things that I've learned from other people, and I've learned from being, going out and engaging in organizations like with MCIA and Missouri Hemp Trade Association and a lot of other great groups that are across the state and out of state. Because that's where we had to go to begin with, because there was nothing here.
Right. So find somebody who's doing it right, and then do it like them.
Well, let it be some inspiration and get your hands dirty and figure out that it'll be a little bit different. So
Shona, I'm going with 5 to 10 feet, depending on what you going on. 5 to 10 feet in all directions. Our gardens for medical side is going to be a lot smaller than putting in 1 to 100 or 1,000 acres. Okay.
Right.
So we're going to think about it differently. I use ground covers, so I don't have to worry about weeds. I don't have to worry about mowing. I'll put down thick layers of straw is my personal preference, because the worms love it.
Yeah.
It gets that biology going in the soil.
Yep.
I actually have problems with possums because they come try to get under
the
mulch to eat the worms, those little buggers. But, there's enough to go around. That's fine. 5 to 10 feet, as long as you've got airflow.
Right.
If you don't have enough airflow, especially for a lot of your medical strains that aren't necessarily bred for outdoors, they may be susceptible to mold, and if that's the case, you really got to spread them out and make sure they get airflow all the way through the plant. That's going to be important outside, especially late in the season.
Yeah, a lot of times I'll see 6 and 6 or 8 and 8 is pretty common across the board.
Yep.
And it seems like a lot of the farmers that have been growing for a lot longer in other states, you go in and you see that people are putting them on 8 foot rows and 8 foot centers, just so that it's on a grid. So whatever one piece of equipment you have to work with, you can go both directions.
Yep.
So it's some of those practical things that you get from everybody else around you who already screwed up and is still trying to get it right. So
That's it. That's it. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. And now it sounds to me like you have a very strong preference for putting the plants in the ground, setting up a good situation for the soil, and then just letting the plants get their groove on with the microbes. And
even in the gardens that I've built over the years, separate from hemp, I've always focused on trying to take care of the soil and take a regenerative approach with the piece of ground that I'm working with, and then also we're in building gardens, we're creating this artificial space. So how do you take the space that we're building as a garden to use, create it as an outdoor environment, but then have that outdoor environment thrive? And so the answer for me always led back to, what's the dynamics of the soil? Is it alive? Is it really thriving? Is it able to, is there good nutrient uptake? So you have to take your cues from the plants, and they're the ones that tell you whether you're doing a good job or not. So,
That's right.
Yeah.
And have you found that you've got to replenish a lot of nutrients on a yearly basis, or not as much if you mulch, say, or?
It's a balance. There's always that 3rd year garden rule. When you're doing something and you're going into a new field or introducing a new plant, it's going to have different requirements, and that's going to create a different biome that it needs to be in. And so you'll have to work with it, and over a period of time, if you're doing it well, then it'll start to thrive, and your work becomes less and less and less because Mother Nature kind of takes over. But it certainly doesn't happen without, a bunch of effort on the front end. And if you're getting it wrong, she'll let you know, and you'll still have
3
every
years.
single problem.
We're starting a new show. It's going to be called
Third Year Garden.
Farming in 4 Dimensions.
There you go. Time. So.
I dig it. I dig
All
it.
right.
So, yeah, and I found the same to be true with my outdoor medical garden. That first year was kind of rough,
Sure.
First of all, I got them out really late, so I didn't get my card until July.
Uh-oh. Yeah.
But, I already had the garden space prepared, but it was just here, and it was pretty good soil. I had a little loam, I'd cleared off a lot of bushes and shrubs in that area, and gotten prepared for it. Second year was a little better. I'd added some amendments and kind of loosened up the hard pan clay that I have, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
This year I've got high hopes. I've bought a big bale of rice hulls because I can, right? I'm not farming large acreage, so I can amend my soils pretty heavy. Brought in a whole bunch of rice hulls for my area, tilled it in strong. I don't like to till, over and over again, but I felt like it was necessary, and I think it's already starting to pay dividends, and hopefully at this point, it's just a matter of keep adding organic materials, a little bit of light, solid nutrients perhaps.
And you're always going to keep learning from your own ground. Every year it's going to tell you something a little bit different, for sure. I'm definitely a big fan of trying to go as close to no-till as possible.
Okay.
But that takes time.
That's
Because
great.
you're using, broad, diverse groups of species to try and accomplish the same thing as tilling. But there's on the one subject of regenerative agriculture, that's something we could do,
Many
an
hours.
entire semester on.
Many hours. That's right.
Yeah.
And there's great groups out there for that, guys. Look that up. KNF is one of those. Korean Natural Farming. I like what they do. I've tried to employ some of that myself. Keep it very minimal. But and I know you do consulting, right? SkyTrace does consulting. You work with your farmers.
It's funny because I've met a lot of people, and we've worked with a lot of people and tried to help a lot of people. And I don't charge as a consultant. I work directly with somebody on a business relationship and try to make sure that their company succeeds and their farm succeeds and that SkyTrace succeeds as well, and that we're doing positive things. And that's just my approach. I've never felt like
Sure.
don't pay me to talk.
Sure.
I'll talk. Everybody who knows me knows that if you get me going, I'll just talk anyway.
Oh boy, you're in the right place tonight.
No.
Let's talk about hemp for a second, right?
Sure.
So let's say I'm a brand new fella. I'm like, I want to go the hemp route. I want to do it the right way. What's some sage advice? Maybe a few pointers right out of the gate that you can get people thinking about.
Make sure you're familiar with what the regulations are. Our Department of Agriculture here in Missouri has been amazing to work with. They really have. We've got 2 people there running the program for the whole state. Our department is so underfunded, but they really want this to work. Alan, who runs it, has been just an open book and as helpful as he possibly can with everybody who's trying to farm and get to know the people in your area. Kind of like you said, you went and you talked to the farmers that were downwind from you. Make sure you know where you are and the people that are around you. And I guess the biggest thing is just get an honest assessment of what you think your resources really are, and don't try to go bigger than what you can take care of, because if you're really successful on a 1/4 acre, then you probably learn more than the guy that just failed on 600, and you're going to outgrow them, and you're going to have a better plant, and and let it grow in the same way that you need to grow the plant. I mean, I don't know if that's sage advice or not, but I think
I think it's good. I think it's good. So in
yeah,
other words, consider you may need to start small.
yeah. In fact, most of the farms that we work with that I really enjoy working with are ones that have grown, an acre behind their house because they wanted to be there and be engaged and learn about it and get to know it, and they've grown amazing plants. Because one thing about this plant is that it does give back tenfold what you put into it. But if you don't put it in, you're not going to get the return. So it takes time, and it takes some work and some care. And if you don't have those three things, then you're probably not going to be very successful as a hemp farmer or cannabis.
Yep.
Interacting with the cannabis plant.
Shadow of the farmer is very important.
It's the best fertilizer. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah, and that lines up pretty good with the advice I've gotten in the past too. I'm a bit in a loo at this point. I've got appeals in on the medical side, so I can't quite move on yet. But we had formed a company, and hemp and medical. We wanted to dabble in both. Understand, get good at something, then stay in our lane, and off we go. And that's pretty much what I was told too. Think about starting small. You got to worry about your soils. Okay, if you're growing on an old livestock farm, on some really tired pasture, that's different. Those soils are going to be tired too. They may not grow good, but on the flip side, if it was a livestock area where you've got concentrated manure, that's a whole different beast. That could be way different.
Were they using a lot of wormers on the cows? What has that done to everything else that's in the ground? I mean, was it an organic farm, or now you're dealing with like a lot of other things?
Lots of considerations.
So,
Yep.
just trying to leave the ground under your feet better than when you found it.
That's right.
In all given situations.
Well, I think you forgot the most important advice though.
What's that?
And that is that you should definitely come out to Missouri Hemp Trade Association events. Visit mohemptrade.org.
Thanks.
These are a lot of fun folks, and they've done that first year thing before, right? A good number of them have.
Yeah.
So there's your community. Go talk to these folks. They're going to be able to steer you in the right direction. And just remember, don't be an asshole. If you're gonna ask a question, maybe think about following that advice before you don't.
Yeah, just come on out. Check out Missouri Hemp Trade Association, and just because I'd like to meet people who are in this across the state and get to know. We're building a brand new industry from scratch here, and the more we actually pull together and go out and have events and get the support of the businesses around us, and then the more we earn their trust, and the more we actually, just at the end of the day, it's like it does become any other job. You want to be able to go home, enjoy your life with your family, and know that what you're doing is helping other people that you're working with go home and enjoy their lives as well. So.
I've got a couple of questions. So if there are farmers out there that, maybe they're soybean farmers or traditional crops that are interested in maybe finding more information out, what's the best way for them to join? Like, do they go online, come to the meetings? Like, how do they get involved? What's the best way for them to learn, like, if they're going to make that transition?
At the meetings we always have, an hour or so beforehand, or the first hour of the meeting really is always, we have like 2 or 3 presenters that are covering specific topics. And we've had farmers that are coming in and explaining their own transitions through into farming hemp. And people who specialize in the agricultural larger scale side of working on this, from soil health to nutrients to equipment to just being able to look at your farm and say, what do I have here that is going to work and what's not going to work? And there are a lot of farmers that are already members of the organization as well that are already out there doing it. So you have a chance to meet with them. And now that we're be able to post-COVID get this thing up and moving again, You'll start seeing a lot more information coming out on the website as well, just with articles or directions. We've always tried to post things and events locally and regionally on our Facebook page for Missouri Hemp Trade Association as well. Just jump right in and realize that you're jumping into a group that's all volunteer and member driven. So that means you get to be part of a family who gets out there and does some work.
Very similar to MCIA, but also just to recap on what you just said, because I went to a lot of those meetings as well. And having other farmers that are going through the same like risk analysis situation with people that are really effective in the industry was super important. It was so important for them to be able to make those decisions on whether they wanted to go ahead and make that decision to go into the hemp industry. Being around other people that are making those decisions and having the advice given to them, and that support group that's involved with that, we really are happy that's coming back. So kudos to you, Tyler, for starting that organization and for being a big leader in that industry, and we're excited for that to come back.
Well, thank you, and I just do want to say that I've been part of the organization for a long time, and it was started by an amazing group of people. I've never felt like it was Tyler's organization, because it wasn't. It was a whole group of people that came together, and we all took different roles, and we've all, done our best to serve what we think that should be, is that we have a strong trade association for hemp in Missouri, so that Missouri has its own voice, and our path forward doesn't get dictated by what happens in the states around us. And I think, as Missourians across the state, that's going to give us the strongest and brightest future, being able to integrate hemp into just our daily agriculture and diet and everything else. So,
got to be mainstream. And be sure to let us know, MCIA, about your event that's coming up in October, right?
Okay.
Not only will it help to get the word out, but probably appropriate for us to have a booth and help sponsor the event, because you're going to need sponsors, and
absolutely.
This is something we're definitely into, and build those bridges all directions. It's the same plant, same reasons, different set of regulations. There's definitely some differences but
they're definitely both regulated for sure.
But there's a lot of synergy there, and we'll work on that podcast in the meantime.
Okay.
Farming in 4 dimensions.
Farming in 4 dimensions.
I like it. Anyway, it's been a real pleasure. Tyler, the Professor, Morgan, Chairman. The Missouri Hemp Trade
I'm really excited
Association.
that there's some new leadership stepping up that are going to be able to take executive director type positions within the association, because I'm running SkyTrace, and we have an industry now, and so the association deserves that respect, and I want to make sure that that I can, with what I have to offer, that it's also very useful. And so I'm really excited about how much participation there's been just in having the conversation about, is it time to start this up yet? And people are coming out of the woodwork saying, heck yeah, whether it's vendors or sponsors or equipment suppliers, it's like, let's just go do it. So, so that's what we're going to do.
I love it. Well, and I think that's going to about do it for this evening. I'm Eric McSwain, Missouri Cannabis Industry Association. If you like what we're up to, you should really, go out and get involved. Make a donation, become a member. It's all about the members. It's all about education. We love what we do. We love being here with you tonight. Jody, I'm coming home, baby. Clay, what do you got?
Oh, well, I don't have anything for your baby, but but thanks, guys, so much for being here tonight. We're doing our best to support the industry in whatever capacity we can, and it shows like tonight where we have people like Tyler Morgan and Eric McSwain, who represent these organizations who do a lot of volunteer work to give a lot of great advice to people within both sides of the industry. So you guys, you're doing a great job. You guys give me an inspiration to continue to do what we're doing with the Evolution Magazine. and you have to be able to do things like this to take it to the part where we're taking hemp construction, projects like that. That's not going to exist until organizations like the Missouri Hemp Trade Association can help farmers and guide their way to becoming successful crop farmers with hemp, and then MCIA doing the same thing on the other side with helping medical patients connect with patient caregivers and support the industry with initiatives coming soon from them. So thank you guys both so much for all of your volunteer work, everything you've done, all the words of wisdom that you spoke to people within your own industries. So thanks so much. You guys, real quick shout out our sponsors, Kansas City Cannabis Company. Thank you so much. Coco Labs, MCIA, our production crew here, James with Level Up AV, Kat with Cat King Films. Thank you so much for all the work you guys are doing with us. And thank all of you at home for watching this show tonight. Tune in next Thursday where we're going to be live with Todd Scattini, Chris Wolfenbarger, God damn it, Wolfenbarger. One day I'll get that one right. Live here at Happy Rock Farms, we're talking about how vets are supporting legalization in the Kansas industry here. So more updates from George Hanna, from Kansas Normal. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll see you next Thursday. Peace.
Thank you.